whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly Live. I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I had a chance to take a look at the defensive film from Week 7 versus the Dallas Cowboys in Washington's 25-3 victory. And I must say, it was impressive, but it wasn't as impressive as I thought. Now, there were some standouts in the game, some guys that really showed on film and flashed, but there were also some big-time mistakes that would have cost us against a better team, okay? This is the first game this season that we didn't give up a big-time play, a gain. We didn't give up a massive gain against the Browns, but they didn't have to have one. We kept giving them short fields, and they took advantage. But we got gutted in the run game in that football game. But that's nor here nor there. For the most part, every week this season, we've given up some kind of massive play, 40-plus yard play outside of, I think, Week 3 versus Cleveland. And so this was the first week we hadn't done that in quite some time. We could have easily given up a big play in this game multiple times, I feel like. We had a couple of defensive breakdowns that almost cost us, but didn't. Again, some of it is Dallas. Some guys made some plays, and you have to acknowledge those things. I thought DeShazer Everett was a true standout in this football game. I thought that Cole Holcomb, and we already gave out game balls, so you know who I thought performed well, but that was off of first blush. It's one thing to just go off of, what you remember from the game, watching the TV copy, watching it live, and it's another thing after you've had a chance to sit down and watch the film. And DeShazer Everett, for me, was a massive standout defensively, along with Cole Holcomb, who was good. He was as advertised. He made some mistakes in this game too, and I pointed that out during the film breakdown. But for the most part, he was outstanding in this game. Everett was outstanding in this game. The defensive line as a whole was good. They weren't great. They weren't exceptional, but they were very good in this game. Stopping the run, they were outstanding stopping the run. But I felt like, if you want me to be honest, the offense was better than the defense in this game. Now, again, it's Dallas. What am I saying? Their defense is by far and away the worst in the league right now. It is not even close. So me telling you the offense performed better than the defense, not really saying much. The Cowboys are more talented on the offensive side than they are on the defensive side. So again, I'm not saying much to you, but the defense played well. Not taking that away from them. They didn't give up anything big. They really held Zeke Elliott down. He averaged less than 3 yards a carry. They were really good. They brought in Tony Pollard. They shut him down for the most part in this game as well. They got after the quarterback. They had 6 sacks in this ball game. Some of it was because of a situation that was really unfortunate, and Andy Dalton getting knocked out of the game, and Ben DiNucci comes in, and he stinks right now, and he was like a deer caught in headlights. But that's nor here nor there. You got to take advantage of these opportunities that come your way, and the defense did. I thought Jack Del Rio was extremely, extremely aggressive, and I think he felt like he could be because of the margin of error And he really overcompensated for the fact that the Cowboys were starting 4 out of 5 new offensive linemen. Andy Dalton was at quarterback instead of Dak Prescott. They haven't been running the football all that effectively. And this is a team that hasn't done well in third down and long with Andy Dalton in the lineup. He pretty much looked at what Arizona did a week ago and said, why can't we do that? And they did. They really blitzed the draws off the Cowboys, came after Dalton. They didn't do anything offensively that was that challenging. I thought we did a really good job in our zone drops for the first time. But again, there were opportunities that the Cowboys didn't take advantage of. And so, again, I thought the defense was good. I thought they were aided by a bad Cowboys offense right now. And I thought that there were some opportunities for big plays and some things to happen. But some guys stepped up and made some plays. Sean Dion Hamilton, I just put out a clip from the film on IG. And I'm going to do that every week now. One offensive clip that I deem to be important or something that I found fascinating. One defensive clip. So one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. Every week from now on until the season's done, I'm going to put up some film on IG and one play a piece from each side of the football that I deem to be pertinent. and that was the clip that I could have chose the Cole. I was about to call him Cole Beasley, Cole Holcomb. Running over Ezekiel Elliott sack along with Jonathan Allen. I could have picked that clip. I could have picked the Landon Collins forced fumble. That was a really impactful play. Hell, before all of those, I would have picked DeShazer Everett saving a damn touchdown in the end zone. I would have picked that clip. That was an awesome play by DeShazer Everett. But the clip that I picked was one where Sean Dion Hamilton was the star of the show. And if not for him, he was the hero. If no Sean Dion on that play, we're probably talking about a vastly different game. And so you never know what form the hero is going to come in on any particular play, but you got to be ready. And Sean Dion got that opportunity. I think that might have been the only snap he might have been in the game on, and he was huge on that particular play. Anyway, the defense was solid. Defense was solid, but I'm not jumping off of the moon after the performance. It was good. It wasn't great. I thought they did some really good things, but I also thought there were some opportunities in this game for plays to be made, and the Cowboys didn't take advantage. So there's that. I'm really confident about this team going into the Giants game because I see another offense that I feel like we can take advantage of. And in the Giants, we did it the first time. We just offensively, we threw up all over ourselves. They didn't do anything to us defensively except for Daniel Jones in that big run. And then the one turnover, and Jones hits Darius Slayton in the end zone. And that's essentially all she wrote offensively for the Giants a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not afraid of them coming up. But the defense, I see guys gaining confidence. And that's the thing that's the biggest takeaway that I have from this game is that I see guys gaining confidence. And if this continues, as we continue to see these weeks pass and they continue to grow together as a unit cohesively, and you continue to see individuals gain confidence, and because of those individuals gaining confidence, as a whole, this team gets better defensively and continues to gain confidence as a group, we could really see significant change, not only on the defensive side, because if the defense plays like they did in week 7, and is able to get stops and force turnovers and shorter fields, it's in turn going to help the offense. It's not a coincidence that week 7 was one of our better offensive performances of the season. We totaled over 400 yards of offense. We rushed for over 200 yards of offense. It's not a coincidence that we scored 3 touchdowns in the game. That's not a coincidence that we did all of those things. Because the defense was able to create shorter fields. You force a safety, you get a free kick, you start the next possession almost at your 40-yard line. The defense gets the stop, and you start your possession at damn near midfield because Dallas decided they wanted to go for it on 4th and 1, and they failed. 2 plays later, 3 plays later, Terry McLaurin's in the end zone on a 52-yard touchdown. Short field, big play, touchdown. It's not a coincidence. These things go hand in hand. I've been crying for more field position, and I think some of the field position numbers that you may see out there are a little misleading because we haven't had great field position all season long. In every game, we've been getting great field position. That is not the case. We took advantage of the field position we got in this game, and I'm hoping that's a trend moving forward, that we continue to take advantage of field position opportunities defensively, getting off the field and getting short fields for our offense. So we did some good things in this game. We need to continue to grow as a unit, and I think they'll continue to do that. And you have some games where I think you'll be able to do that coming up, including this Giants game in week number 9. And so you get healthy. Hopefully everybody takes care of business over this break, because for some teams, COVID-19 and these bye weeks haven't been a good thing. Guys are going out, enjoying themselves, and coming back and having COVID-19. We've seen it at least 2 or 3 times with teams going on bye weeks. Hopefully this team stays clean and keeps their business where it needs to be and comes back ready to work next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever they decide to get back to work off of that bye and preparing for the Giants. So with that said, let's get to in other news tonight. When we looked at this team last, 2-5, we saw a team that was able to do some really good things against the Dallas Cowboys. Thought they should have beat the Giants the week prior. We're right now at 2-5 and in second place, tied for second with the Dallas Cowboys. One game in front of the Giants in terms of last, half a game behind the Eagles for first. So that's where this division is. The Eagles and the Cowboys play each other, so something's got to give there, whether the Eagles, stretch the lead out a bit, or the Cowboys are able to put behind all these demons that they've had the last couple of weeks, somehow manage to get a win and give themselves a chance to take first place, send the Eagles to second, and then we would drop down to third. We'll see what happens, but in any event, when we come off this bye week, we're going to have a tremendous opportunity to try and get this division. But what I want to talk about right now are a few things. First things first. A couple of roster moves made by Washington. They've got like 4 or 5, and we talked about this already. They've got like 4 or 5 practice squad spots available on the roster as it stands. And so they're going to go about the process of trying to fill these voids on the practice squad. Again, keep in mind that at some point you're going to get some of these guys off of IR. And if you do, then the guys that they are going to take their places on the active roster are going to be cut. And then more likely than not, you're going to want to move those guys back to the practice squad, i.e. Tony Brown, for instance. This is a guy that I think they like. And he got some run on Sunday versus the Cowboys. Out of necessity, obviously, but him and Jeff Badette did see the field, sparingly. But those are guys that I think they like, that they want to continue to work with. If that is in fact the case, when Steven Sims comes off of IR, one of those guys has to go back to the practice squad. If they're not snatched up by another team, more likely than not, they won't be. So I don't think they're going to fill all of these spots necessarily. We'll see what they decide to do. Obviously, you can fill all of them now. And then when those guys come back from injury and you're ready to activate them, you can cut somebody from the practice squad and activate someone else and bring them up to the practice squad. So they went out and got wide receiver kick returner Trevor Davis, a guy that was drafted by the Packers about maybe 5 years ago. So out of, what college did he go to? It was one of those Pac-12 schools, if I'm not mistaken, like UCLA or something. I think he went to UCLA. Has been a solid return man in this league. Has bounced around in different teams. I think he was in Oakland or Vegas, I should say. I think it was Oakland when he was there, maybe a year or two ago. He was with Green Bay early in his career. Has had some success in the return game, but not a guy that you get overly excited about, obviously. So they're going to add him to the practice squad. They also are adding Jordan Brown, a cornerback that was drafted in the 7th round by Cincinnati in 2019. Have no idea who he is. I'd have to go back to my notes. If he got drafted, that means I did a film breakdown, or not a film breakdown, but I did a breakdown of him, and I watched film on him. So I have notes somewhere. I'd have to go and find them. But he's a cornerback that does have some safety value, potentially. I'm not sure about him, but another guy that they're going to add to the practice squad. They're looking for depth at this point in terms of their practice squad because they've had to tap into some of the depth on the practice squad with some of the injuries that we've had, most notably at wide receiver, hence them adding a wide receiver to the practice squad, and in the secondary, hence them adding another secondary member to the practice squad. So I wanted to touch on that first. Then you get to some surprises this season, and I got a category that I want to bring up, and we're going to call this Studs, Duds, and Surprises. As we're at the midpoint of the season right now, there are guys that have really surprised you. There are guys that you're really disappointed in. And then there are guys that have been absolute studs, whether you thought they were going to be that way coming into the season, or guys that you didn't expect, but all of a sudden they're balling and you're like, whoa, this guy's been a revelation for us. I'm going to throw out a few, and hopefully you guys have a couple, and we'll see. So for my studs, I'll go one at a time. Stud, a dud, and then a surprise. So my first stud is an obvious one. It's probably the most obvious one that we have to date. And stud is Terry McLaurin. Guy right now is 10th in the league in receptions. He's 6th in the league in yards. He's averaging just under 14 yards per reception for an offense that can't stretch the football field vertically. That's pretty damn good, okay? He is like 4th in the league in 20-plus yard receptions, which was actually surprising to me because of the stagnation of this offense at times, especially, probably 4 or 5 of those 20-plus yarders are wide receiver screens. I don't care. I'm not gonna apologize for wide receiver screens popping and getting you a big gain, and probably 2 more are slants. Again, I'm not apologizing for a slant going for 22 yards. I'm not. But Terry's been really prolific this year, and the beauty of it is teams know that he's the best that we have. Yet he's been able to produce some really good numbers to this point of the season, with the opposition knowing that 17 for the most part is all we got. And he's still been able to go out and shine. So that's been pretty damn impressive. And remember, the prevailing thought before the season was, hey, how good is Terry really? We're going to find out, because he's going to get the best that the other team has to offer on most weeks. Well, he stepped up to the challenge to this point, and he's a stud for me as we enter our bye week in week number 8. A dud for me, Jon Bostic. I'm not a John Boom Bostic fan, especially starting. I told you I don't really have a problem with Jon Bostic coming off of my bench. If you told me Jon Bostic was one of my first linebackers off my bench and he was a key special teams contributor, I'd be all in favor of it. The fact that you're telling me that Jon Bostic is my starting middle linebacker is problematic for me. There's a reason that he's been on 19 different NFL teams. And of course, I'm over exaggerating, but I can remember at least 3: Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and Chicago, and hasn't been able to stick anywhere. And he's not that old of a linebacker. He's still relatively young. And for him to be like 27, let's call him 27, 28 years old, and having already been well-traveled in this league, it tells you that he's okay, but he's not a starter. And yet we're making him one. And up until him getting ejected, this man had played every single defensive snap for us this season. To me, again, problematic. But I wasn't counting on Jon Bostic to have a big year. That was the coaching staff trying to sell us on Jon Bostic, trying to sell us on Kevin Pierre-Louis, which I haven't been disappointed in Kevin Pierre-Louis. He's continuing to grow. There are limitations to his game as well, but he's much better than Jon Bostic. So that's one of my first duds. Surprises: Jaron Christian and Wes Schweitzer. We didn't know what we were going to get out of Jaron Christian at left tackle. Honestly speaking, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I wanted Sadiq Charles to win that job. He was never healthy in camp. And so by default, Jaron Christian not only won that battle, but really earned the right to start. And he's been really solid. He didn't play for the first time this season in week 7. Cornelius Lucas stepped in. He was good. He wasn't asked to do much. It's not like he was over there shutting it down. He was solid, okay? But at the end of the day, when I look at what Jaron Christian has provided for us to this point, I've been pleasantly surprised and very pleased. So I think he's been a surprise for me. Wes Schweitzer is a much bigger surprise, though, because when we signed him to that 3-year, $13 million deal, I was thinking, okay, that's a backup. Knew what he was in Atlanta. He was a backup. Couldn't hold down a starting job in Atlanta. Backup. And so when Brandon Sheriff went down and Wes Schweitzer had to come in, I said, oh, hell, here we go. It's starting already. And he came in, and he wasn't great that first game he came in against Arizona. And I'm thinking to myself, we're in for it now. Offensive line already has had some issues. This isn't good. And I felt like ever since that Cleveland game, he's been really, really good. And I've been really impressed. And even when Sheriff came back, I was saying, hey, if Wes is tripping at left guard, stick Wes over there. Swap out Wes for Wes. And they were going to try Sadiq. 2 plays in, Sadiq Charles goes down against the Giants. In comes Wes Schweitzer, and he picked right up where he left off at against. He had the one play on the sack fumble versus the Giants where he didn't pass off that stunt. But he's been exceptional. I've been pleasantly surprised by the play of Wes Schweitzer. So now you go back to another stud for me. Antonio Gibson. Didn't really know what we were going to get. I was excited about him. Thought for the first time, we were going to get a guy that could do a little bit of everything. Be a bit of a gadget guy. You could put him out wide as a receiver. You could run it. You could jet sweep it. He just got his first jet sweep of the season, and that one popped for like 45. Hasn't really been much of a factor in the pass game as much as you would like him to, other than, wide receiver screens and a couple of swing passes out of the backfield. But he's been really good. Right now he's 18th in rushing yards in the league. That's tremendous for a rookie. He's 3rd among rookies in rushing yards, only behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire and James Robinson of the Jaguars. So he's running the football very effectively. He's got 518 all-purpose yards. He's been really good and a breath of fresh air in that backfield. So he got his first 100-yard performance against the Cowboys in Week 7. I think it's the first of many to come. You look at a dud for me this season, Troy Apke. We didn't know Apke was going to be penciled in as a starter until we got to training camp, and Apke was running with the ones. And then we're into the second week of training camp, and Apke is still running with the ones. And then we're into the third week of training camp, and Apke is still running with the ones. And now they're talking about how physical he's been and how he's making plays. And we're like, well, maybe Apke just needed a change of scenery. Maybe he just needed a new coaching staff. No. Apke still can't take proper pursuit angles, which was one of his problems. Apke still struggles to tackle in space, which was one of his problems coming out of Penn State. And Apke is one of those guys that he needs reps, but are you really in a position to give Troy Apke reps? No, you're not. You gave him reps early in the season, and he kept making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So no, you're not in a position to keep giving him reps so he can keep doing the same things over and over again. And he's been a disappointment. And at this point now, I kind of feel like we wasted, I think it was a 4th round pick. Kind of feel like that was a little premature, that 4th round pick was. I felt that in the moment, but I was willing to see what he could be other than a special teams guy. It is what it is. Troy Apke to me isn't a starting safety. Period. Another surprise for me. Kyle Allen. Didn't expect him to even be playing at this point of the season, if we're being honest with one another. I was all in on Dwayne for 16 games. That was my mindset coming into the season. That was my mindset after the first 4 games. And then that mindset took a sharp turn once I saw the division and Ron and company said, hey, we got a shot. And then I saw Dwayne's play after the first 4 weeks. Not inspiring. Not the same Dwayne I saw last year. And all of a sudden, here comes Kyle Allen. Really wasn't expecting much. Saw him last year in Carolina for 12 starts. Kind of felt like I knew what he was, but 12 starts still isn't a really huge sample size. Thought he played well against the Giants, although the 2 mistakes, the 2 turnovers were massive in that game. That fumble was backbreaking. But he played well in that game. Followed that up with another solid performance. He wasn't great versus the Cowboys, but he was really solid. And essentially, he's 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's converted on something like 57% of his third downs in 2 games. We were the worst third down converting offense in the league until he got into the lineup. Look, I'm not saying. I'm just saying he also has a rushing touchdown to his name. He's extended plays. He's ran for first downs on third down. He's making things happen. I've been pleasantly surprised with Kyle Allen and how well he's performed in this short period of time. Now, again, small sample size. He's got a lot of time left to soil himself. You know, he could S his pants, you know, the next 3 weeks and we could be singing a totally different tune. But right now, pretty damn impressed with Kyle Allen. I have a couple of super chats. I do have more studs, duds, and surprises, but I got some super chats. I want to get to those quickly. So, got a super chat here from Redskins 007. Thank you for the super chat. Redskins 007, greatly appreciate you, who writes, "Sup, Louie T? Given our next 3 opponents, 3-0. I'm calling it. I'm hoping Sadiq Charles gets back soon and stays healthy. Our winning culture must begin. HTTR." I can't go out on the limb and call it 3-0. Those are very winnable games. All 3 of them. Giants, Lions, Bengals. I'd even stretch it out to 4 in Dallas a second time. But I can't look past the Giants. We already lost to them once. Got to win that one first. The Lions are very dangerous because unlike the teams that we've faced the last 2 weeks and will face in week 9, they've got a veteran quarterback that will not miss when an opportunity is presented to him. They've got a veteran quarterback that will slice and dice our defense if we don't get to him and make him pay. They've got receivers that are big time, that can make plays, and if we're not careful, they can hurt us big time offensively. So I'm not willing to go out on a limb. I'm not looking past the Giants in week 9. That's all I'm really focused on, but you could go right ahead and call 3-0. I hope you're right. 3-0 over the next 3 games would put us on a 4-game win streak, and it would send us into that Thanksgiving game versus Dallas on a high. And at that point, you would be within a win over Dallas from getting back to 500. Coming from where we came from, to even use the phrase 500 seems like blasphemy at this point. So, as a matter of fact, I'm tripping. If we won the next 3, we would be 500 at 5-5. We're 2-5, not 1-5. We're 2-5. If you win your next 3, you're 5-5. So, you're asking a lot, but I'd love it. Hopefully that happens. Got another super chat here from Colton Pagano Jackson, my man CPJ. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. CPJ writes, "What's up, Lou? How do you feel about Cam Curl? I'm feeling pretty good about his growth. Hashtag Mob Squad. MOBB stand up. We in the building. As always, if you're not a part of the Mob Squad, what are you waiting on? The link is down in the description of this and every single video I do. Become a member of the MOBB. Anyway, I'm really feeling Cameron Curl. And I told you guys this early in the season when he started getting run. And I was like, man, you know, this young rook has already proven me wrong. I already gave him a 00. After like week 3, I think I gave him a 00. He's been good. He's had his share of mistakes, but that's what you're going to get from a rookie. He's far exceeded my expectations as a 7th rounder. Yeah. And obviously, you know what that means. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I look at Cameron Curl, and I did my film breakdown already. Cameron Curl was another guy that stood out on film in week 7. Another guy that I said to myself, we may have something here. And he's right at home in his office where he belongs, in the box as a strong safety. I still have yet to see what he looks like, you know, playing a deep half or a quarter. But I know what I know about Cam Curl in the box. And he's a legitimate force in the box. So, thought he was outstanding versus the Cowboys. And I feel really good about him and DeShazer Everett. I think our safety position is going to be okay. They're going to make mistakes. Both of these guys are young in terms of game experience. Cameron Curl is a rookie, and DeShazer Everett, for whatever reason, all these years was never looked at and viewed as a starter. For whatever reason. He's played a bunch, but not in a starting capacity. Not when we're relying on you as the guy. Now we are, and I think he's playing well in that role. Thank you for the super chat, CPJ. My man Barrett Downing, BD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Barrett writes, with so many guys under try-me contracts, how many of these guys would you keep? Oh, that's a great question. We signed a bunch of those guys, as you mentioned, in the offseason, and I think a lot of these guys have performed well. You know, I'd have to see how many of them are actually on one-year deals, like a Kevin Pierre-Louis, for instance. Is that a one-year deal? I think it is. I'm not sure. I'd love to have him back. I have no problems with Kevin Pierre-Louis. I think he's found a home here in Washington. If this staff sticks together and I don't see them going anywhere, I think he's been solid this year. I have no problems with Kevin Pierre-Louis playing weak side linebacker for me moving forward. None whatsoever. Another one-year deal that I remember us signing was that of Ronald Darby. I got no problems with Ronald Darby coming back. If he can stay healthy and this is the Ronald Darby we're getting, I like Ronald Darby. I think he's played really well. I have no problem with signing Ronald Darby to a 3-year deal. You know, a 3-year, $30 million contract. If he's willing to sign it, I have no problem signing Ronald Darby to a 3-year, $30 million contract in the offseason. None whatsoever. Who else that we signed to a 1-year deal? You know, Schweitzer is a 3-year deal. He's not going anywhere, and he's played exceptionally well. He's exceeded my expectations, as I mentioned. I don't know what Logan Thomas signed, if that's a 1-year deal, but if it is, he's found a home in Washington. He doesn't need to go anywhere. So that's another one of these guys that I think signed a 1-year deal. Would love to have him back. I think Peyton Barber signed a 1-year deal. He can go. Yeah, he can go. Not a Peyton Barber fan. Haven't been impressed with him. They're going to continue to use him in between the tackles, but he, as I've mentioned, he's extra regular. Okay, you can find him. He's a dime a dozen back. You can find him on anybody's practice squad right now. You can draft him in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round of an NFL draft. You don't have to pay veteran money to a guy that's, you know, not really giving you much. So I wouldn't bring him back. John Bostic, I think, got an extension this offseason, one of the few guys that did get an extension. I don't know how long it was. I don't want him off the team necessarily. As I mentioned, I just don't want him starting. And so if you draft someone or you sign an inside linebacker or whatever, as long as you replace him in the starting lineup, I don't care. John Bostic can be on the team. I just don't want him starting. And so, you know, that's that. But, you know, when you look, J.D. McKissick, what was that? Was that a 1-year deal? I want him back. So a lot of these guys that we signed in the offseason, for the most part, have performed well to this point. Now, obviously, got a lot of season left. Cornelius Lucas, again, I don't know, small sample size, but if that's what we can expect from him in mop-up fill-in duty, I want him back. So, you know, a lot of season left, though. But as of right now, as we sit here at the midpoint of the season, a lot of those guys that signed those 1-year deals looking pretty damn good. Pretty damn good to this point. Thank you for the super chat, Barrett Downing. John Perez, my man JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, JP, who writes, want to know what you think about potentially adding Marvin Jones from the Lions, especially if Ron is serious about a playoff push. I saw the post on IG. I saw your tweet about it. I don't think it's going to happen. First of all, if I'm Detroit, why would I move Marvin Jones and I'm in the middle of a playoff push myself? I get it. He's not going to be back next year, but you got to take advantage of this year if you're Detroit. You let him leave in free agency. Maybe you get a compensatory pick for him. Maybe, I know with the new CBA, he's a veteran that's been around for a while. Maybe you only get a 5th round compensatory pick. But is it worth trading him in season when you're 3-3 right now and you're making a push yourself? Are you going to trade one of your better wide receivers? Does that really make sense? Again, everything that's done has to make sense. And if I'm the Lions, if the Lions had lost on Sunday to the Falcons and dropped to 2-4, then maybe Marvin Jones is being dangled out there. Maybe he's a commodity that they're looking to move. At 3-3, you're right in the thick of things. For the wild card, you're not even out of it, theoretically, for the division if you're Detroit. So, nah, I don't think they're going to move him. But let's just say, for the sake of saying that they are looking to move him. Would I be interested in him? Sure. What's the price? I've already said. Marvin Jones, solid receiver, know what you're getting. He'd be a great number 2 and a nice compliment to Terry. He'd be an upgrade over everything we have on our roster right now, behind Terry. What are you asking for him? If it's some astronomical price, no. I'll just keep. And honestly, looking at what we've done this year at receiver and various positions, do you really think that this staff is looking to trade for anybody? Just think to yourself. You guys, just think for a second. We had all these injuries at receiver. We got injuries at safety. We got injuries along the offensive line at times. They haven't made one move. They're just promoting young guys. Do you really think this is as decimated a receiving group as we've had all season long? We literally pulled up 2 guys from the practice squad. And they got some run. Not a ton, but enough. Do you really think that they're going to trade for Marvin Jones with Isaiah Wright coming back? Isaiah Wright's injury isn't super serious. He'll be back shortly. He may even be back after the bye week. Steven Sims is going to be back from the toe injury here shortly. If not right after the bye, I surmise the week after that. And then you're back to full strength at receiver. You really think they're going to trade for Marvin Jones? Think about that for a second. You really think they're going to do that? Nah. I'll answer that for you. No, they're not going to do it. And if I were them, I wouldn't do it anyway. I wouldn't do it. He'll be a free agent in the offseason. If you really like him, you'll be able to get him without giving up any draft capital. So I like him a lot, though. But I don't think you need to give up anything to get him. Thank you for the super chat, JP. See. Got a super chat here from Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, happy Wednesday, LT. Mclaurin post-game presser on Sunday. Super intellectual. I predict a future coach. We'll see. I don't know what he wants to do post-NFL career. I mean, his career is just getting started, so it's a long ways away. This isn't like the NBA where, a guy wants to coach after his career is over. I mean, think about this. How many former players, like recent former players, like guys that played like the receiver position, for instance, how many of those guys have become NFL head coaches? It's not often. Usually the guys that become NFL head coaches, and you didn't say a future head coach, you just said a future coach. He could be a wide receiver coach. He could be a wide receiver coach. That's more likely than not what he would be. I just saw Wes Welker on the 49ers sidelines as their wide receivers coach. It's not uncommon for a guy that loves the game enough to come back and help in that capacity. But I don't know if that's what he wants to do or not. If it is, as you mentioned, very intellectual. I've talked about how smart and mature, and everyone else has talked about it as well, how he just gets it. How he doesn't carry himself like a second-year player, but rather like an 8-year vet. He's a pro's pro. He's a guy that is businesslike and gets the job done. I'm surprised he doesn't have a C on his chest already. That's probably the biggest surprise of it all, is that he isn't a captain. But, they said he's not very vocal in the locker room. And when you're a second-year guy, you don't expect a second-year guy to be very vocal, but you see him stepping up. I'm pretty sure you saw the post-game locker room speech that he had. He's starting to assume that role, a leadership role on his team. Morgan Moses said he told Terry McLaurin, look, bro, you're going to have to step up. You're literally the only wide receiver on the roster that has any experience, and you're the only guy that actually got drafted. Everybody else is undrafted. You have to step up. They're looking to you. And you see what he's starting to do. He's starting to step up. And not just for the receivers, but the entire team. So Terry's awesome all the way around. Got another super chat here. This one is from Kevin, the PRF. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin. Greatly appreciate you. My man Kev writes, considering Bostic and Allen, not predicting position, but if Lance and Parsons are on the board for your first, what would you do? I don't want to fall into the Kyle Allen trap. He's setting a nice trap for me, though. But it's early. I can tell you this much. I don't know what this coaching staff is thinking right now. This is the thing. Do you love Lance? Do you love him? Yes or no? That's what you have to ask this staff. Do you love Trey Lance? If the answer is yes, you don't pass on a quarterback. You don't. Not in this situation. You don't. If you don't love Trey Lance, but you love Micah Parsons, what are we really talking about here? Now, again, you have to understand that we still have 9 games left on the schedule, and anything can happen. Kyle Allen could light it up. We could go 6-3 down the stretch, get to 8-8, and win a playoff game, and Kyle Allen is playing out of his mind. Are we really looking to replace him at this point? No. I mean, think about this. And I know it's not quite apples to apples. But what if Kyle Allen goes on a Ryan Tannehill-like run that he went on last year with the Titans? Remember, similar situation. Tannehill comes in as a backup. They trade for him in the offseason to back up Mariota. Mariota isn't performing well. They bench him in the second half of a game versus Denver. In Denver, Tannehill goes on to finish up the season scorching hot. They win like 6 out of their final 7 games with Tannehill under center. They mow through the AFC playoffs, going to Foxborough, going to Baltimore before losing in the AFC Championship to the Chiefs. I'm not saying that that's what we're going to do and that's what Kyle Allen's going to do. But let's just say Kyle Allen gets hot. We win 6 out of our final 9. So in essence, totally, it would be 7 out of the final 11 games with Allen as the starter. That's what it would be, right? Well, he started the Rams game too. So I guess you would go, it would be 7 out of the final 12 games. You win with Kyle Allen under center, and you make the playoffs because 8-8 is going to probably win. If you go 8-8, you're going to win the division. And let's say you win a playoff game. And Kyle Allen, obviously you can't do this without Kyle Allen playing well. You won't be in a position to draft Trey Lance at that point, more likely than not, unless teams don't like Trey Lance and he falls down the draft board. Highly unlikely. That doesn't happen in the NFL draft anymore. Rarely does it. So, essentially what I'm saying to you is there's a lot of time left. If you're asking me right now in a vacuum, with what I've seen out of Kyle Allen and, the linebacker position, what's the bigger need? You take the quarterback. The quarterback supersedes everything. If they love Trey Lance, you take Trey Lance. Even if you really like Kyle Allen, you take Trey Lance. You don't pass on the quarterback position. Period. However, if Kyle Allen lights it up, and we're looking at this dude and saying, are you serious right now? Is this who you really are moving forward? And not just against, the Giants and the Cowboys and the Eagles, but in the Lions and in the Bengals. But no, he goes toe-to-toe with Russell Wilson. We may not win the game, but he goes toe-to-toe with Russ. And he goes to Pittsburgh and we upset the Steelers and he plays well and throws for 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he takes down the 49ers. And you're looking at this guy and you're saying, what the hell has gotten into you? You have to think hard and long about, maybe we found our guy. He's right here under our nose. Highly unlikely. But there's still 9 games left this season, and he's got an audition to see if this can be a job that he can lock down. Highly unlikely. Again, if we're in a position to draft the quarterback, you take the quarterback. I don't think there's anything to discuss. But if we win this division, if he play, and this is the thing, I said the same thing about Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville. I think the same thing bodes for Kyle Allen. Here's your shot. You control whether this team is going to take a quarterback or not. I said this to Gardner Minshew early in the season. When they beat the Indianapolis Colts in week 1, I said, nobody's giving you a chance, Gardner. You think you're an NFL starter? You may not get another opportunity anywhere else to start. This could be it for you. You better go out and you better win as many games as possible to put the Jaguars in as bad a spot to get a quarterback as possible. If you go 2-14 and they're sitting there with the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 pick in the draft, your ass is grass, whether you played well or not. Same thing for Kyle Allen. You don't want this team to draft a quarterback to replace you? You better try to win this damn division. Because if we finish 5-11 and we end up with the 6th pick in the draft, guess what? They're going to take a quarterback. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. So, if you want to keep the next guy from taking your job, if you want to keep them at bay, win as many games and play as well as you possibly can, you may not get another one of these opportunities. Because not before long, you're going to be classified as a backup. And once you get that label, you can't shake it. You can't fake it. You can't shake it. You are what you are at that point, whether you like it or not. So how many years were we saying, man, Mike Glennon should be a starter in this league? He finally gets an opportunity. He stinks. At some point, you're just a backup. So this might be it for Kyle Allen. And he even said it himself. You know, there's something to Kyle. I've said this. There's something to Kyle Allen, man. You know, he's got that poise. He's got that moxie. He's got that, you know, Rex Grossman type of mentality where, look, shit happens, but you're not going to faze me. And, you know, coaches loved Rex Grossman. Now, Rex was like 6'0". He was chubby. He could throw it, but he also could throw it to the other team. But boy, did Rex have swag. They loved them some Rex Grossman. Every coach loved them some Rex Grossman for a reason. Kyle Allen gives me those types of vibes in terms of guys gravitate towards him in the locker room. You won't find a guy that has anything negative to say about him. I see guys in the way they respond to him. All right. I see a guy that he said, look, I had to get mine the hard way. You know, I don't know what it's like to be drafted. You know, I was a number 1 recruit out of high school. I ended up going to a school because the coach recruited me. 1 year in, he gets fired. I transfer. And I get benched when I go to Houston. I end up undrafted in the league. And I had to earn mine the hard way. So he says, I'm mentally tough. You can't shake me. I've been through the ringer. I've been to the lowest of low. I had to earn my way here. So you're not gonna rattle my cage. There's something about that I love. And you see it on the field when he's running around, extending plays, running on 3rd down for 11. There's a little bit of that edge to him that I'm saying, man, this guy's got it. He's gritty. Now, again, I don't know what's going to happen, but the question that you asked me is a no-brainer, because if we're drafting in a position where Trey Lance and Micah Parsons are both on the board, that means we stunk and that we're really high in the draft, which means you need a quarterback. If we're drafting at 22 because we made the postseason, and Kyle Allen was one of the chief reasons as to why we were able to turn this season around, win a division, and get a home playoff game, then you have to recalibrate your thought process. Maybe you still take a quarterback, but Kyle Allen, you're looking at him and saying, why not Kyle? Why not? So the only way Parsons is the pick in a situation where those two are on the board is if you don't like Trey Lance. You think Trey Lance is no better than a second, round pick, or you think he's too far of a project. He's too big of a project to take on right now for where this team is. If you don't love Trey Lance, you don't take him. And then you take Parsons. But if this group evaluates Trey Lance highly and they think that this guy has it, and then you got to take the quarterback. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin P.R. Got another super chat here from, looks like it's from Poopin' for Noopin'. What's going on? Thank you for the super chat, Poopin' for Noopin'. Greatly appreciate you. Poopin' for Noopin writes, I was confident last year, but certain this year. Terry is a number one and will be our best receiver since Henry Ellard. You had to go way back with you pulling out the Henry Ellard card. No. He's the best receiver we've had since Santana Moss. Don't disrespect the Tana man. There were some really big seasons in there. 05, 06, 07. Those Joe Gibb 2.0 years when they traded for Tana and he first got here, there were some massive years in there for the Tana man. Don't do him like that. You can't go all the way back to Henry Ellard. Tana man, and you probably could even say Pierre Garçon, back in 2012 and maybe even 2013 even. Like, Pierre was good. There were a couple of years in there where Pierre was really damn good for this football team. So we've had some good receivers over the years, but Terry might be the most consistent since Santana Moss, because Moss was here from, I think we traded for Moss in 05. And from 05 to like 2012, maybe 2013, Moss was a receiver here in Washington. Maybe even 2015. He was here for a long time, was Santana Moss. And hell of a receiver for many years. I think we might have one of those on our hands here in Terry McLaurin. And I like you, was very confident in Terry last year. But I needed to see it this year when teams, like, he kind of snuck up on people last year. He wasn't sneaking up on anybody this year. We don't have anybody opposite of him, really. And for him to still be doing what it is he's doing on a weekly basis speaks volumes. He's a number one. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what, Chris Cooley says or anybody out there that thinks he's not a number one. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I understand what Cooley is saying. I don't agree with it, though. I think Terry McLaurin's a number one. And I think he can get by guys. And we saw him get behind a fast corner in Trayvon Diggs on Sunday. I think he's capable of stretching the football field vertically and doing all the things you need a number one wide receiver to do. And keep in mind, he's still growing as a wide receiver. He's still learning how to play in the slot and how to, run routes and things of that nature. He's still learning. He wasn't the number one guy at Ohio State. He was a third round draft pick. He's still evolving and growing, and that's the scary part. I think he's just scratching the surface. Thank you for the super chat, Poopin' for Noopin. Thank you for the super chat, James Lester, man. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Got another super chat here from Farrah Cody. Greatly appreciate you. Farrah Cody writes, Zach Wilson looking good, second round pick. I don't know. I recorded the BYU game from this past Friday, or I think it was Saturday night, actually. I'm going to watch it. I plan on watching it. I saw that they were on. I said, I'm going to record it. I want to see what this guy is about now. I don't think the opponent was all that good. I know BYU is undefeated right now. I don't think they've played anyone, but I'm going to watch the game. I want to see what this Zach Wilson guy is all about. Like I said, I watched a little bit of him 2 weeks ago when everybody was, up and on. Hey, did you see Zach Wilson? So I went and checked him out. I was like, okay, there's a little something here. I'm going to watch the game that I recorded, and I'm going to analyze him a little bit further. Excuse me, and really start to assess this kid. And look, he's a junior. He may not even come out. Who's to say he didn't go back for his senior year? He could be enjoying himself thoroughly in college right now and says, you know what? I'm going to go back one more year and see if we can't do something big. Who's to say he's not enjoying college life? We'll see what happens. But I can't say if he's a second-round pick or not. I haven't watched enough of him to know. Tony P56. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Tony P56. Who writes, LT, I won't troll about tanking anymore. You helped me see the light. We're not the worst team. I don't want that culture. And damn, it feels good to win. Hashtag HTT or HTTWFT. Look, man, I don't want you to feel like, you as a fan, you root for what you want to root for. I myself, one, don't like losing. And as you just said, doesn't it feel good to win? I know it was Dallas and that makes it feel even better, but doesn't it feel good to win? Shit. It's so, the film was so much easier to watch. I was so excited to go watch this film because we won. The overtime show was more enjoyable. Why? Because we won. Winning is fun. That's part of the problem with me. It's a disease for me. It's part of the reason why that poor little girl couldn't win at tic-tac-toe. And I felt bad. I really did. But winning is fun. And it's something that I'm addicted to. I cannot get enough. It's an insatiable appetite that I have for winning. It's insatiable. I can't get enough. Chicken, strawberry, banana, keep eating dubs. I can't get enough. I don't know how anybody could want to do anything but win. And I understand that, you feel like in order for us to end this cycle, you got to go out and get a game-changing, franchise-changing player. And if you think Trevor Lawrence is that, so be it. I don't, however, think Trevor Lawrence is that. That's why I'm not as gung-ho as everyone else is. Hey, we got to get Trevor Lawrence. I think he's really good. I think he's really talented. I don't think he's Andrew Luck. I don't think he's better than Andrew Luck. I don't think he's a franchise changer like Andrew Luck was in Indy. I just don't. I don't even think he's Joe Burrow. Am I crazy for that? Maybe I am. Maybe I am. I don't think he's Joe Burrow. Shoot me. I don't. So personally, I just want to win. I've told you this already. This is how you know I trust Kyle Smith. If I didn't trust Kyle Smith, then that would mean if Bruce Allen and company were still here making boneheaded decisions, then we would need the number 1 overall pick because those buffoons didn't know what the hell they were doing. And you couldn't trust them to pick anybody other than the guy that falls right into their lap, right in front of their face that you can't mess it up. That's the only picks they ever got right for the most part. Those were the ones they got right. Outside of that, it was a crapshoot with them. That's why a lot of the guys on the roster that we drafted in 15 and 16 and they're no longer here. They're not here. All of those guys are gone. I trust Kyle Smith. And because I trust him, whether we're picking 22, whether we're picking 27, whether we're picking 7, or we're picking 2, I think he's going to get us a great football player. Whether that's a quarterback, a linebacker, safety, tight end, wide receiver, don't give a shit. I know he's going to get us the best football player that's going to help this team win. We didn't know who the hell Antonio Gibson was from Adam from Eve. He's proven to be a hell of a football player. I still believe in Sadiq Charles. I wanted Antonio Gandy Golden. I still think he's going to be a good football player for us. We know what Chase Young is. I think this is going to be a really good draft for us. I really do. You see what Cameron Curl, he was a 7th round pick. I couldn't have been more wrong. They know what they see. 7th round guy, pretty much a starter now because of the injury, but he was playing a ton of snaps already. We're getting tremendous value out of a 7th round pick. I trust Kyle Smith. And so that means whether we're picking 22 or 2, I know we're going to get the best player available for this team. I can't talk about for other teams, for this team. And whether it's a quarterback or not, I trust his evaluation. I have my own, but I trust his. This is all the man does is watch these guys and try to figure out who fits our system best, who are really good football players. So I'm glad that you understand that it's more than just, wins and losses. It's about a culture. And wins and losses help you build a culture. Because if there are more wins than there are losses, guys want to be a part of that. Guys start buying in. Other players outside the organization want to come play for this organization. You want to get good free agents to come here? Win. Change the culture. Stop being one of the worst teams in the NFL. Nobody wants to come and play here. It's funny. Every time a big name guy gets released or somebody's on the block, first thing Washington fans want to, man, we should go get this guy. Le'Veon Bell's out there. We should go get him. Antonio Brown's out there. We should go get him. Those guys don't want to play here. Nobody does. We have to draft talent. Nobody wants to play for Washington. We had to give Landon Collins the biggest contract any safety's ever seen in this league, in history of the league at the safety position, just to get him to come here. Nobody wants to come here. Amari Cooper, we offered him more money than the Dallas Cowboys. You know what he said? I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks. You got to change the culture first before guys are beating your door down and want to come and play for your franchise. You want to go 1-15? Cool. Guess who's going to want to come here and play for your 1-15 team? Nobody. You think you're going to just throw money at guys? Sometimes it's bigger than money. The guys are going to want to come here. I remember when Tyrann Mathieu was a free agent, I was like, man, we should go sign him. He doesn't want to come here. You know what he said? I want a chance to win. He went to Kansas City. To hell with you guys. We were interested. He wasn't interested. Nobody wants to play for a loser. So when I sit here and I tell you it's about a culture, it's about establishing a winning culture. The only thing that establishes a winning culture is winning. You can't establish a winning culture any other way but winning. Can't win off the field. You don't win with a new logo and a new name. You don't win with a new stadium. You win by winning. That's how you establish a winning culture. I'm glad you understand that now. If you didn't before. Maybe you did and you just didn't care. But I'm glad you understand that now. Thank you for the super chat, Tony P56. See if I got any more super chats. And I do. So I got a super chat here from Clumsy Jedi 26. And this is one of the guys that wants Trevor Lawrence, that wants to lose. So let me see what he has to say, if this even has anything to do with that. Thank you for the super chat, Clumsy Jedi 26, who writes, I'm officially off the tank train. Let's go win. Okay, so another converter. Now, let me say this first. One win, and you were one of the ones, Clumsy Jedi, that was, you had convictions. You felt like, and you used to type me long dissertations on, and I would read every single word of it, on why we needed to tank. Why we needed to get Trevor Lawrence. And I already told you, we're not going to finish bad enough to get Trevor Lawrence. The Jets are, to me, the front runners, and I don't see anybody unseating them. Unless Jacksonville doesn't win another game and the Jets somehow do, and the strength of schedule is stronger for the Jets than, the Jets than the Jags, and somehow they get number one. Either way, I don't think we're going to finish anywhere near number one. I think the Jets and the Jags, and maybe even the Giants too. If we beat them this time, I don't know if the Giants are going to win many more games this season, honestly. But if you have convictions, one win shouldn't change that for you. You know, if we beat the Giants and then we beat Detroit, then maybe. But I love the fact that you're off of that and you want to go win, because winning is the ultimate goal. Again, there are so many different ways to do this. You know, sure, you could go and get the number one overall pick, get the right guy, and he could change your franchise forever. That's great. If you get that, you earn that. If you get the number one pick, you earn the right to draft that guy because you really sucked the year before. I don't ever want to go through another season like last year. I don't know about you. I was so glad we got Chase Young. Because if we didn't get a guy like Chase Young, if we would have ended up like the Giants with the Andrew Thomas, do you know how upset I would be right now? Having to go through what we went through last year. Think about it. The Giants only won one more game than we did last year. Their season was just as sorry. They've had sorrier seasons than the one they had last year, though. But for me, as a Washington fan, we have never picked as high as number 2 before. That was our pick. Think about that for a second. We received somebody else's pick when we drafted LeVar Arrington, number 2 overall. We got that from the Saints in a trade. We've never picked that high because we were that bad before. Think about that. Let that sink in and resonate. We were so goddamn bad last season. I don't ever want to go through that again. Never. Ever. Ever want to go through that again. It was horrible. So, for me, I'm glad that you want to win. That should always be the goal. I can never really wrap my brain around tanking. Last year was the first time that I was able to even bring myself to watch this team and hope that they lost. And that shit hurt. There were games that I was sitting there and I was so conflicted because I'm rooting for us to lose, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want us to win this game. But at the same time, I was like, you a damn fool if we win this game. You know, that Eagles game, I'm watching Dwayne tear it up. I'm like, man, I'd love to beat these bastards. The Eagles are so trash. Let's get them. And in front of my head, I'm saying, you damn dummy. You really want to throw this thing away and not get Chase Young. And I've sat through all of these ass whoopings week after week after week. We went almost a whole month without scoring a touchdown. You really want all of that to go in vain? And then I had to come to my senses. I don't want to go through that again. I don't ever want to have to root against this team in my life again. I don't want to do that again. That wasn't fun. Football is fun for me. Every week I sit in front of the TV, even when this team is trash and I don't think we're going to win, it's still fun for me because I'm rooting for my team to win. Whether we have a chance or not, I'm rooting for my team to win. Last year wasn't fun because I wasn't rooting for my team at the end of the season last year. Really, from the midpoint of the season when I realized this is one of the worst Washington teams I've ever seen, I was not rooting for the team to win games. At that point, the picture was much bigger than just this season. There was nothing to salvage. We didn't have a coach. We had a quarterback situation that we were unsure about. We wanted Bruce Allen gone. The only way to get that done was to lose and lose big. There were so many changes that needed to be done, and the only way to achieve all of them was to lose in a massive way. We don't have to do that again. I don't want to do that again. So I'm glad that you understand that in order to build a successful franchise that other guys want to be a part of, winning is the key. Thank you for the super chat, Clumsy Jedi 26. Pooping for Noopin. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Pooping for Noopin. Greatly appreciate you. Pooping for Noopin writes, I said Henry Ellard because he was a Hall of Famer to me. If the Knox run Rams were consistently good, he was still balling his final 4 years. He was. He was just one of those guys that just kept playing, and he was just good for a long, long time. And so Henry Ellard is one of those guys that he was a true pro, a pro's pro. We had another one of those guys here at the end of his career too. If you remember, I can see his damn Irving Fryer, another one, just like a carbon copy of Henry Ellard, a pro's pro, just knew how to get open and catch the damn football. Both of those guys ended up finishing their careers here in Washington. Thank you for the super chat, Poopin' for Noopin. Extra Squaw, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Extra Squaw writes, thoughts on Justin Fields? Not really high on him. Had a nice performance in his first game, but again, I want to see when they start playing some good teams. What happens when they start. They got a big game. If I'm not mistaken, they play Penn State this week. I think they do. Penn State isn't really Penn State because some of the guys have opted out. It's just a weird year. All he can do is go out and play ball and do the best he can. I just want to see growth. I want to see him go through progressions. Last year, he was more of a one-read quarterback. I want to see him go through progressions. I want to see him, push the football down the field accurately. A lot of the Ohio State offense is it's horizontal. It's not vertical. I want to see him be accurate down the field. That was one of my biggest gripes with Dwayne. Yeah, he threw 50 touchdowns, but how many of those were, on crossing routes and, guys just wide open because it's Ohio State versus, Purdue, Ohio State versus Illinois. How many of those, I can only do so much with that. So I like Justin Fields. He's talented, but I I got more film to watch on him too. Like, it's hard for me to talk about any of these quarterbacks because I haven't done a ton of homework. The only guy that I've really watched a ton of film on thus far is Trey Lance. I did a video on him, and that required me to watch film on him. But for me, with Trey Lance, my biggest problem is just not a lot of experience. You're talking about a guy that played 1 year of college football. That's it. You're going down that Mitchell Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins type of path. You know, that's scary when you're talking about a guy that hasn't played multiple years and you don't really get to see the growth, the maturation, the mistakes, how he overcomes adversity. The guy went undefeated, didn't have a turnover, and he hasn't lost a game in college football. And so I don't know what he does when he's in an adverse situation. What happens after a loss? How does he bounce back? What happens when he has a miserable game? Or what happens when he throws an interception? God forbid he does that. What happens when he does that? I don't know. I haven't seen it. How am I supposed to be 100% sold on a guy that I don't know how he reacts to adversity? You can't know. You haven't seen it. He didn't throw an interception. They didn't lose a game. How am I supposed to know what he does when he throws an interception or he fumbles a ball or he throws a back-breaking pick that loses him a game? How does he come back and respond the next week? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't have the answers. Hard for me to evaluate some of those things. Those things matter. So I don't know about Justin Fields yet. I said all of that to say this. I don't know about Justin Fields. I'll have a much clearer picture as we get into the draft season, and I'm going to break him down thoroughly like I am all of those quarterbacks. I'm really going to be on the draft this year like no other year because this is what I do now on a full-time basis. I don't have to juggle a full-time job and then come home and try to watch film and I'm falling asleep as I'm watching film. I'm literally going to be locked in watching film on all of these prospects. I'm going to get through the entire draft. Before the draft, I'll be able to talk to you about the South Saginaw State running back. Like I'm going to be able to do that this year. So I'm going to be really in tune on the draft this year. So it should be a lot of fun. Step Brothers LLC. Thank you for the super chat, Step Brothers LLC. Greatly appreciate you. Step Brothers LLC writes, knowing how Terry plays and what you know from Scott Turner's offense, what type of receiver you want to see across Terry next year, HTTR? That's a great question. So how this offense is run, the guy playing the Z receiver is really a possession receiver. He still needs to be able to get vertical. So I want a guy with a little bit of size. Like if you told me we had a 6'2" receiver over there, I'd say perfect. That's exact. If you told me it was a 6'2" receiver that could run, I'd tell you that's perfect because that backside receiver or that Z receiver, he's going vertical a lot. He's also a guy that they're running over the middle of the field. He's a guy that they're looking to have separate on a bunch of crossing routes, you know. And so just think about what Dontrell Inman has been asked to do this season. Think about a guy that's a little bit more dynamic. We're not even looking at the two receiver a lot of times. But think about that Cleveland game that Dontrell Inman had and the opportunities he had in the end zone. Think about some of the biggest conversions we've had this season, you know. Dontrell Inman was a part of that. You think about that Giants game, a big fourth down catch, a big third down catch in that game. That was Dontrell Inman. I think you need that Z receiver to be a bigger body guy, but I still want him to have speed. I don't want him to be one of these guys. I don't want him to be AGG. You know, I don't want him to be a big possession guy that can't. You know, people have said AGG's a lot faster than you think. I don't know about all of that. I haven't seen him running by anybody. If they go out and get somebody, I want like a 6'2", you know, 210, 215 pound receiver that can run. You know, you don't have to be, you know, a DK Metcalf, you know, physical freak. And those don't grow on trees anyway. But, you know, if you told me I could go out and get a 6'1", 6'2" guy that could run but has some size on him and had great hands, that's exactly what I'm looking for, you know. And if you told me, hey, he's a 4'5", 3 guy. Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Like, you don't have to be a 4'7" burner. Like, I don't want a 4'6" guy, which is what AGG was. I don't want that. You know, I want a guy that can actually stretch the football field vertically still. Because I think there are opportunities on that side of the field. A lot of times, that guy's looked at as a clear out, as you get more comfortable and you gain more trust with your quarterback, that guy doesn't have to be a clear out option. You know, he's not just running on the backside of a play just to be running. You know, right now, if I'm a corner playing Washington and I'm on the you know, the opposite side of Terry, most of the time that guy's not getting the football on a clear out. If he's running a 9 route, they're not even looking his way. How many times have we thrown a deep ball to Sims or Inman or Isaiah Wright or anybody that's been outside? You know, and most of Isaiah Wright's snaps have come in the slot. But anybody that's played on the outside, Sims, more likely than not Sims or Inman, how many times have we thrown the deep ball to them? They've run guys off a million times. They're not even getting looks that time. And sometimes they're open, wide-ass open. They're not even getting looks. That's got to change. So I would like a guy, you know, Cam Sims would be perfect. I think he's a little bit faster than people think. And if he continues to develop, why not Cam Sims? I'm just saying. I liked what I saw from Cam Sims in week 7. That's all I'm telling you. I'm not madly in love with Cam Sims like some of you are, but there were a lot of you who vouched for Cam Sims and said, you guys are wrong. This guy can play. And when he gets his opportunity, you're going to find out. Well, I'm starting to get aboard that train because when I watch Cam Sims, I see a big, fast receiver with good hands that I think has the ability to make plays. He needs more opportunities. He's open. Give him opportunities. Even when we get healthy with Steven Sims coming back and Isaiah Wright coming back, I think he needs to take Dontrell Inman's reps. We saw what was happening. Before AGG got hurt, he was taking Inman's reps. And I want to see all these guys get opportunities. Inman or AGG, and I want to see Sims get reps. I was all on board for AGG taking all of Inman's reps. I didn't care to see Cam Sims. I wanted to see AGG. Now that I've seen Cam Sims, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Let me see some more 89 real quick. Let me see what he's talking about. Because I like what I'm seeing from him. He was open a bunch on Sunday. So maybe we have the number 2 receiver on the team already. We just don't know it. This is why this season is so important. And I told you guys before the season started, we're going to find out what we really have because we don't have any idea what we really have. We think we know. We have no idea what we truly have. And we're starting to find out some of these guys that have been collecting dust on this football team, like a DeShazer Everett, like a Cam Sims. Hey, some of these guys actually can play some ball. Blow the dust off of them. Give them some chances. And let's see what we got. Well, we're going to find out. I really think some of these guys can play some ball. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat. Step Brothers LLC. Got another super chat here from JP. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, JP. Greatly appreciate you, my man. JP writes, I said this before, but I'm slowly starting to believe again. It would make me so happy seeing postseason football, even if it's just for one game. And I think that's this. I don't understand why people don't understand this. How do you know how guys are going to react in postseason football if they don't play in postseason football? Postseason football is different from regular season football. That's why it's called postseason football. So when people say, I don't want to go to the playoffs just to lose one game, just to play in one game. Well, guess what? You need experience. No, who wants to go to the playoffs and lose? But that's not how you should be thinking. If you get to the postseason, I've said this many a times, all bets are off. They shut the doors. They lock the door. With all the postseason teams in there, all bets are off. Once you get into the dance and they shut the door, guess what? Everybody's got a shot. Doesn't matter if you're the 6th seed or now the 7th seed or you're the 1 seed. You can get got. All you got. This is not the best of 7. This is not the NBA or MLB or NHL. You don't have to beat a team that's better than you 4 times to advance. I just got to beat you 1 time. You just got to come and play a funky ass performance. I got to show up and play well and I beat you. Just 1 time. I don't have to do it 3 times. I don't have to do it 4 times. Just once. That's how the 7 and 9 Seahawks had the Beastquake game and beat an 11-5 Saints team. Home playoff game, win. That's how the 7-8-1 Panthers beat the 10-6 Arizona Cardinals in a wild card playoff game at home. Records don't matter once you get in. You're home, you got a shot. I just want a chance. I want these guys to experience what it's like to play postseason football. Get a taste of it. Once you get a taste, you're like, man, that was good. I want more. How do you know what it feels like, what it tastes like if you've never had it? I'll give you an example real quick. Yesterday, my girl was fussing at me. I brought vegan vodka sauce for the spaghetti. She cussed me out. Why did you buy this? Don't buy this anymore. I'm like, have you ever had vodka sauce? She said, no, but you don't buy that for this kind of spaghetti. I'm like, how do you know? You never had it. I've had it before. It's delicious. Just try it. She said, just don't buy this anymore. I said, okay, fine. I won't buy it anymore. She tried it. She said, hey, this is pretty damn good. I said, well, don't worry. I won't buy it anymore. No, you can buy it again. How do you know if you don't try it? We don't know what postseason football feels like, tastes like, so we don't know what we're missing. You gotta go. Even if it's for one game. You can tell yourself, man, that environment was electric. We gotta get in the postseason again to feel that again and to do more damage the next time we get there. We gotta find a way. This is a great opportunity, man, for a lot of young guys to get experience that you can't get anywhere else. A lot of guys are getting a chance to play. That's awesome. But you know what is even better? A chance to play and win. That's priceless. Because you can get a chance to play anywhere. You get week 17, your team's out of it, and they can pull you up off the practice squad and give you some snaps. You can play anywhere. But winning is different. Meaningful football, that's different. That's what a lot of these guys don't know anything about at this level. Playing meaningful football. A lot of these guys have played week 14, 15, 16, 17, season over, pull you up off of the practice squad. Team is decimated by injuries. Hey, come on, you've been running the scout team offense all season long. Come get you some snaps in these final 3 weeks of the season when don't shit count. When nobody's playing hard and nobody's playing for anything meaningful, at least not on this team. Come out here and get you some snaps. Put some film on tape for everybody to see. Maybe you'll get a job somewhere else, if not here. How about November and possibly into December, we're playing meaningful games. We'll get to see how guys react to meaningful games that mean something. I don't give a shit if we're 3-6. If it's a meaningful game and it's in the division, it means something to us. It's a meaningful game. You get to see how guys perform in pressure-packed situations. Can't duplicate that in week 17 when you're 2-13. Anyway, I digress. Thank you, JP, for the super chat. Let's see if we got any more super chats. Got another one here from, let's see. Got one here from Metaphor. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. My man Metaphor writes, Tank Lana may get to number 1 to move on from Matt Ryan. They're not doing a very good job of tanking in terms of competitiveness throughout the game. They're doing a hell of a job tanking late, though, if that's what they're doing. They're creating and inventing ways to lose. I've never seen anything like it before. But they're definitely looking, I think, to move on from Matt Ryan for sure. And if they're going to do that, this is the draft to do it. You know, they got an Atlanta homegrown kid right there playing at Ohio State in Justin Fields. Born and raised in that Georgia area. Went to Georgia before transferring. They probably love to bring him home. So we'll see what they decide to do. 61 Livy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, 61 Livy, who writes, excuse me, as a Bills fan, I can attest to the culture point. We had to overpay the hell out of free agents to come here. Mario Williams is the most recent overpay. But yeah, winning cures everything. Look, and I'm glad you brought that up because as a fan of a different team that has been through a bunch of losing seasons and understands what it means to change your culture, you saw what their head coach came in there. Coincidentally enough, he came from Carolina under Ron Rivera, did Sean McDermott. He changed the culture in Buffalo. They hired a GM. They meshed together, okay? Brandon Beane is one of the best GMs in all of football. So you get a head coach, you get a GM, they're on the same page, and they come in and they change the culture. They did it first with Tyrod Taylor, and they won football games. And then they go out and they get the young quarterback and Josh Allen, and they start drafting really well. And then all of a sudden, you start winning games, and then all of a sudden, guys want to come and play for you. Now you're able to sign a Cole Beasley and a John Brown. And all of a sudden, things start to come together. And it all starts to make sense. They go out and you get a Mario Addison and, everything. And then you trade for Stephon Diggs. And it all starts to come together. It's not a coincidence that they won first. They didn't get these players first. They won first. And they had to find a way to win. It wasn't pretty. They snuck in the back door of the postseason. They had to go to Jacksonville. They lost their first game in the postseason since 1999. They hadn't been in the playoffs in the 21st century. 2017 was their first chance to play in the playoffs. You think they gave a shit what the record was or who they were playing, home, away? They could care less. They were just happy to be in the playoffs. They lost to Jacksonville. But they were one and done. But guess what? They tasted playoffs. They knew what it tasted like. And they said, we got to get back at all costs. They got back last year. Now they're a good football team. You got to build that culture by winning first. Thank you for the super chat, 61 Livy. Gear Cell 1. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Gear Cell 1 writes, way to go, Washington football team. Zeke played like he was wearing a turtleneck cutoff at the belly button with zebra-colored skinny jeans. I can vouch for the turtleneck cutoff at the belly button. That's something I think Zeke might actually rock because he wants to show off the feed me tattoo on his stomach. So I think he might actually have one of those. And don't tell me Zeke Elliott doesn't look like a guy that would wear a turtleneck. So I could see him wearing a turtleneck cutoff. Or what is that called? A crop top? What is that called when you cut off the middle part of your shirt? I think that would be considered a turtleneck crop top. I don't know. Don't get me the line. Thank you for the super chat, Gearcell 1. Got another one here from 61 Livy. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, 61 Livy. Greatly appreciate you. 61 Livy writes, and yeah, quarterback matters so much. Free agents look at that, obviously. If you're in quarterback purgatory, good luck. I couldn't have said that better myself. Nobody wants to come and join your organization. Two things. A coach doesn't want to come and coach your team if you don't have the right quarterback. Like, when Rivera took this job, he didn't take it because of the quarterbacking situation. He took it because of the defense. And he also, I think in the back of his mind said, I'm not tied to Dwayne Haskins. If I don't love him, I'll draft somebody else. Or I'll just trade for Kyle Allen. I like him a lot. Anyway, there's a theory on that. But bottom line is, most coaches don't want to come coach your team if you don't have a quarterback that they believe in. And most free agents don't want to come to your team if your quarterback stinks either. If there's receivers out there or defensive players, they look at your quarterback and he's trash. I mean, remember Jalen Ramsey went on his tirade about this quarterback and that quarterback, and he was so wrong about Josh Allen. But players around the league, they talk. They know. They see these guys. They play against them. They know who's who. And it's hard to convince a guy that this is the right place for you, even if the dollar signs match up. It's the right place for you if you don't have a lot of the pieces that they deem necessary to contend. They'll just pass on you and go somewhere else, especially if the money's comparable. Maybe you were trying to offer me more, but if I could get just, you heard what D'Angelo Hall said. He wishes he would have taken the contract in New England instead of coming here. It's easier to say now in hindsight. You already got the money, but he said, look, if I had to tell my, younger self this and do it all over again, I would have signed with New England. They were only offering me like $3 or $4 million less per year, which is a lot when you look at how long D'Angelo Hall signed for. I think he signed like a 5-year deal here. You're telling me it's a $3 million a year less per year. That's $15 million less. That's a hell of a lot of money. But he's like, you know what? My whole entire career and my legacy in this league would have been dynamically different if I played for a winner. He's right. You would have viewed D'Angelo Hall, all the interceptions he had, all of those good years he had here. You'd have viewed him differently if he'd have spent those years in New England. But it is what it is. Got to win. I said all that to say this. Got to win. Got another super chat here from 61 Livy. Thank you for tripling up. Greatly appreciate you, 61 Livy. Thank you for the super chat. 61 Livy writes, you've inspired me and my brother to start a Bills podcast. We just love talking football, as I definitely can tell you do. Any equipment tips for starting or just tips in general? I love that you are starting this and you've got somebody. The thing that is awesome is you got somebody to do it with. If you've got somebody to do it with, it makes it that much more enjoyable. Hit me up on either IG or Twitter. DM me, okay? And that's usually when people want help or somebody's thinking about starting a channel and they want my advice, that's usually what they do. Hit me up on either IG or Twitter. Hit me up in my DMs, and I will definitely give you all the advice you can ask for. If you're serious, I'll help you as much as I possibly can. You go ask my man over at Bill's Believers Talk. That's my guy, Joey Sharp. Helped him and gave him every bit of advice I could. Any bit of game I had, I gave it to him because, you know, I'm looking to pay it forward. Nobody helped me, right? There was no OG to help me when I broke into the game. I had to figure out a lot of things on my own. So if I can help you avoid some of the pitfalls that I had to go through back in 2012 and 2013 when I was first starting out, I'm going to try and do that for you. So hit me up in the DMs, and I'll definitely be willing and able to assist you with any questions you may have. All right? Appreciate you, 61 Livy, and best of luck to you as well. I got another super chat here from, let's see. Do I have another super chat? I do have another super chat. This one is from Clumsy Jedi 26. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Clumsy Jedi 26. Greatly appreciate you. Clumsy Jedi 26 writes, do you think Kyle can be the guy? I like him. The jury's still out. I told you there's something there to Kyle Allen, okay? There are a lot of things that I like about Kyle Allen. There are a lot of things that I don't like about Kyle Allen, but the things that I like heavily outweigh the things that I don't. He was a young quarterback, and a lot of people don't give young quarterbacks the time and space they need to develop and grow. We love to come to these concrete decisions on young quarterbacks. Oh, he stinks. Oh, he's great. He can't do this. He can do this. He's a turnover machine. Well, if we dropped Peyton Manning, and I hate to bring, legends into the game, and I always like to go to the Drew Brees comp more than the Peyton Manning comp because that's the easy low-hanging fruit is to go to Peyton Manning. Oh, he threw X amount of interceptions in his rookie season. I don't really like to go to the Peyton Manning comp. But could you imagine how people would react to Peyton Manning in 2020 if he threw that many interceptions in his rookie season? Could you imagine the outrage? Luckily enough for him that those interceptions happened back in 1998 and not 2018 because he would have never gotten the opportunities he got in Indianapolis to turn it around. People would have been all over him. Oh, this guy stinks. He's a turnover machine. Yada, 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 yada. I always like to talk about the guys that struggle early in their careers, and I've always bring up Josh Allen. He's always my easiest guy to bring up because he's the most recent. Everybody thought that he couldn't do it. He was too inaccurate. Look at his percentage, his completion percentage this year. And these aren't dink and dunks. All right? He's not throwing at the line of scrimmage. This man is chucking the football down the field, okay? So don't tell me that guys can't improve accuracy. Don't tell me guys can't limit the turnovers. Josh Allen was a turnover machine. Now, he still has some issues fumbling the ball when he's running. He's a little loosey-goosey. I've talked to Josh several times about that. Like, hey, man, put it away. I love the play you just made. Put it away. You got 7. Put it away, man. You got the first down. Put it away. You're doing too much now. Put it away. But he's not throwing interceptions left and right anymore. And you can't tell me that guys can't evolve, that they don't learn. And the thing that I see in Josh Allen, I saw in the other, or Kyle Allen, excuse me, I see in Josh Allen, you know, and that's the ability to escape and extend plays, use his legs, and the ability to make things happen off schedule. That was something we didn't see from Dwayne. And if you can do that in this league, and consistently do these things, I think you can limit the turnovers eventually if you're willing to make some of the changes that are necessary to do that. And watching him in the Dallas game, there were some opportunities for him to, you know, make some throws that might have been a little risky. He turned it down. You know why? Because in his mind, he's saying, we're up big. I don't want to make the mistake that's going to break our back in this game. You see him, you know, starting to make some different decisions, and you see the game slowing down for him. He's still got a long way to go. He's still got a ton of, think about this. Kyle Allen, when he makes his next start against the Giants, will be making his 16th career NFL start. Let that sink in. 1 full season. That's it. That's it. So he's still young in terms of NFL career experience. So I've told you this already. I like him a lot, and I like a lot of the things that I see out of him. Is he the guy at the quarterback? I can't answer that right now. But I can tell you this much. I've been impressed with what I've seen from him in these 2.5 starts. Honestly, the Rams game is a wash. Really, these last 2 starts. I told you I was impressed with him. And a lot of people mocked me and made fun of me for being impressed with him in that first half of that Rams game. I was impressed. And I have been impressed the last 2 weeks. Despite the turnovers in week 6 versus the Giants. I was impressed in week 7 again. Thought he managed the game well. Yeah, there were some opportunities, and I thought he missed a couple, but he made some throws, gave guys opportunities down the field, got out of the pocket again, used his legs effectively and efficiently. And there's something to number 8. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I like you, like him. Thank you for the super chat, Clumsy Jedi 26. The Great. Thank you for the super chat, The Great, who writes, Super chat is lit tonight. We have a young team. Let them play and learn as they are now. The pieces are in place and more will come. No need to reach. That's kind of where I am with, you know, people talking about we should trade for this guy or that guy. And I'm like, nah, I'm not really looking to trade for anybody, you know, and I don't think they are either. You know, when I look at the moves that they've made, you know, whether it's at the receiver position, whether they went out and poached a guy off of somebody else's practice squad and Robert Foster, they're not looking to trade for anybody. They're perfectly fine with what they have at wide receiver. They're trying to look at all these young guys and figure out which of these guys can and can't do it. Like, you know what's going to be crazy next year? Think about this. I don't like thinking about, you know, too far ahead, but think about this. Think about what the receiver position is going to look like next season in the offseason. Imagine if they bring another guy in. And honestly, we sit here and keep talking about receivers. I don't think they're drafting one. If they do, it'll be late in the draft. I don't think they're going to spend early draft capital on a wide receiver. Think about this. Here's why. You're going to have Kelvin Harmon coming back from injury. I know a lot of you probably forgot about him. Out of sight, out of mind. So Terry McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon, Steven Sims Jr., Cam Sims. They really like Isaiah Wright. We're going to see Robert Foster. I don't know what he is. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how to feel about, or how they feel. I don't even want to count those guys. I'm not going to even count the Tony Browns and the, Jeff Badetts of the world. Let's just stop there with those 6. They went out and poached Robert Foster off of Green Bay's practice squad, so I think they're going to give him some looks. Antonio Gandy Golden. That's 7 guys right there. Think about that for a second. 7 guys that they potentially could really like. They could add somebody in the offseason. I didn't even mention Dontrell Inman, who's been really solid for us this year. I don't know if they're going to do anything at wide receiver. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. A lot of these guys are getting reps, and they're showing well. They like these guys. I like some of these guys. And they're going to get a lot more experience. So when we sit here and we start talking about all these receivers and we start talking about, man, we need this guy, look at this guy, what if we draft this guy? I just named 9 receivers that are going to be in camp next year, more likely than not. Competing for more likely than not 5 at max 6 spots. Don't know if they're looking to add anything. And you got to think, Gandy Golden just got drafted. He's not going anywhere. Terry McLaurin, not going anywhere. Steven Sims Jr., more likely than not going anywhere. Kelvin Harmon, probably going to be here. That's 4 guys right there. Cam Sims showing us some stuff. He may be a lock, and he plays ridiculous special teams. I'm not saying, of course, I'm just saying. So, anyway, I'm with you. I don't see them doing much at a bunch of positions. I think they're ultimately going to settle in on these young guys. Remember, when we came into the season, we talked about wanting to see the young guys play. And then all of a sudden, we get into a playoff chase, and the division stinks, and now all of a sudden, they want to go out and get every veteran that's out on the streets. Hey, what about Earl Thomas? What about Eric Reed? Nah, that's not what they're doing. That's never been what they've been doing this year. That's never been the move. Not one time have we sustained an injury and they went out and said, you know what? Let's go get this veteran. They did it once in camp with Dontrell Inman when they found out they lost Kelvin Harmon for the season. That is it. Otherwise, it's been, hey, we got somebody hurt. Let's see what this young guy has. That young guy got hurt. Let's see what the next young guy has. They're not looking to go out and find a veteran that's 32 years old or 29 years old looking to get back in the league. They're not looking to do that. They're looking to find out what this 25 or this 26 or this 27-year-old can do. Maybe you just needed an opportunity to play more consistently. Maybe you just didn't fit that scheme that you were playing in with this team or that team. Let's see what you look like in this system. They're giving these young boys a chance. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from a lot of them. Thank you for the super chat, The Great. Got another super chat here from Portlock Sono 87. Thank you for the super chat, Portlock Sono 87, who writes, "What up, Lou? How do we go about fixing the middle linebacker position after this season?" To me, if you want to fix middle linebacker, you're probably going to have to do it outside of this team. 2 options. 3 options. 3 options. 1, there's Reuben Foster. Don't know if he's a middle linebacker or not. Don't know if they love him as a middle linebacker or not. Don't know if he'll ever be the Reuben Foster that he was prior to the injury. But there's Reuben Foster. That's 1. 2, free agency. Don't know who's available as a middle linebacker, but I've seen plenty of teams find quality middle linebackers in free agency that were young and on the come, and just the other team, their previous team, didn't want to sign them or pay them the money that they were going to get on the free agent market. And so you could see a situation where you end up getting yourself, like we did get lucky once upon a time with London Fletcher. You could find one of those guys in free agency. Or obvious situation and choice is the draft, you know? And there are always linebackers in the draft. Are you going to find one that fits what you want to do with the kind of speed? Generally speaking, it's rare. Very rare. They're out there, you know? The Matt Milanos of the world are out there. But you got to find those guys. For the most part, the guys that can run, that have the aptitude, the aggressiveness, the instincts, and the athleticism to match, those guys usually go in the first round. You know, the Patrick Murrays, the Kenneth Murrays, the Patrick Queens, the two Devins, Bush and White, those guys go in the first round. Those guys don't usually hang around until the second or third. There were a couple of guys that I really liked last year that went second round, even into the third, but, those are rare. The Bengals got a kid that I loved, Logan Wilson, out of Wyoming last year, would have made a perfect middle linebacker. He's like a Leighton Vander Esch light, if you will. Anyway, you're going to have to dig and search through the crates in the draft, but you can find one. So those are your three options. Draft, free agency, or you got to hope that Reuben Foster heals up and gets back to what he once was. We'll see. Thank you for the super chat. Portlock Sono 87. 61 Livy, thank you again for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, 61 Livy. Really do. Who writes, thanks, brother. You'll hear from me shortly. Last question. Any crazy trade predictions? I was hoping for Ingram for the Bills, either the tight end or DN, LOL. He says, although the spelling is different, I think. No, that's the tight end for the Giants. It's spelled with an E. So you got that right. As far as predictions, I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow. So I was going to do it today, but I decided to hunker down on the film, get that done, and I did. So all the defensive film is up on Patreon for those of you who are patrons. If you're not a patron, what are you waiting on? Become one so you can watch the film. The film was great this week. I had a 2-hour film, 2-hour and change offensive first half film session. And, you don't realize how much we possess the ball in some of these games until you get into the film breakdown. And you're like, whoa. Like, the Cowboys had the ball twice in the fourth quarter. 8 plays total. Like, we dominated the football in that game versus the Cowboys, especially in the first half. Anyway, so yeah, I'll talk about the trade deadline and the trades that I think could take place. I know a lot of what the league felt like was going to take place was really today. Today was the day that if trades were going to take place, because I think the deadline is actually next week. But because of COVID protocols, you need to make the trades now. But I think the trade deadline is actually next week is the last week to make trades. But I think there are still some opportunities. I don't know. Let me see when the official end to the trade deadline was, because I know the Cowboys had 2 guys that they told, if we can't trade you, we're releasing you. One was Dontari Poe, and the other, I want to say, was either a corner or a safety. I think it was a corner. It was Daryl Worley. That they said, hey, if we can't trade you by today, we're going to release you. And they released both of those guys. Let's see. November 3rd. So I was right. November 3rd is the trade deadline. But the rumor and word out on the street is, if you really want these players to come in and be able to play for you, the best thing to do is trade for them this week, which is why we thought we would see a lot of trades this week, because of COVID protocols. It's going to take a while for what would usually be a bang process. It takes a lot longer with COVID protocols. So you still could see some more trades, even though a lot have already taken place. Thank you for the super chat, 61 Livy. Got another super chat here from Martin Matthews. Thank you for the super chat, Martin Matthews. Greatly appreciate you. Double M. My man Martin Matthews writes, Hey, Louie. I think we will see more positive things when we start using Badet and Foster. Anything to get Inman off the field. Don't do my man Dontrell Inman like that. Not an Inman fan. Obviously, I can tell. He says, if Kyle's game gets tighter, can you imagine our draft without looking for a quarterback? That's the intriguing part about all of this. I would love to just be, and that's why I wanted Dwayne to work, because I didn't want to have to be doing this again. I didn't want to have to say, all right, well, the first round pick is definitely a quarterback, so can't look at anything else. Can't even look at a tight end, or can't even look at a linebacker, or can't even look at a safety, or, you know, look at a tackle, or whatever we deem to be necessary for this team to improve. Can't even look at XYZ position because we got to draft a quarterback. Could you imagine if we don't have to look for a quarterback? That would be so awesome. You know, that would be epic. Right now, I can't sit here and sign up for that, because I think when it's all said and done, we're going to need a quarterback. But if Kyle, as you mentioned, tightens up, and the only way Kyle is going to convince this staff that they don't need to draft anyone else is he can't just play well. We got to win too. If we win this division and he plays well and he's part of the reason why we win the division, not because, and we don't win the division in spite of him, I think he can fight off them drafting a quarterback at least one more year. Or at least a first round quarterback. You know, if they draft a guy in the second or the third round that they want to develop, that guy never has to see the field. There are no guarantees or ties to a second, third, fourth round, because there isn't even a fifth year option on that guy. Like, the Eagles spent a second round pick, which is why the Eagles fans were all up in arms. Oh my God, I can't believe we spent the second round pick on Jalen Hurts. What are we doing? Howie Roseman is the worst. You needed that guy. And there are no ties to him. In 4 years, Jalen Hurts either can be back in Philadelphia or he can be looking for work elsewhere. You don't have to do anything with a second or third or fourth round quarterback. They're just there. If you need them, you can tap into them. If you don't, adios. It's why Washington drafted Kirk Cousins. They weren't drafting Kirk to supplant Robert Griffin III one day. They were hoping Griffin was the answer. They just wanted to have another young guy on the roster to develop, just in case. Who knew? But there were no ties to Kirk Cousins in the fourth round, third round, wherever the hell they drafted him. There were no ties to him. They can still draft a quarterback. Doesn't have to be in the first round. I just know this. If they don't have to draft a first round quarterback, it would make our draft so much more intriguing. And I would be so much more invested than if, oh my God, we're drafting. Because I already told you guys, I don't see us being a top 5 team. I told you that when we were 1-4. I told you that when we were 1-5. A lot of you thought I was crazy. I said, we're not drafting in the top 5. We're not going to be as bad. Look around the league. Look how many bad teams there are. We won one game. And we went from the second overall pick to the number 9 pick in the draft with just one win. That's how bad the league is. And I totally understand that with another loss and several wins from other teams, we could go right back into the top 5. I'm aware. But you think we're done winning this season? Not with this stinking ass division, we're not. We're going to win at least 2 games more in the division by itself. We're going to sneak somebody outside of the division, whether that's Carolina or Cincinnati or Detroit. We're going to sneak somebody outside the division. Somebody's going to get it. Don't ask me who. I don't know. But when it's all said and done, if we don't make the playoffs and we end up, let's just go with 6-10. It seems reasonable. It's 5-11, 6-10, somewhere in there. 5-11, probably with the way this season is going, with all the bad teams, with the Minnesotas and the Houstons and the Jets and the Giants and all these, and the Falcons and all these bad teams and the Jaguars. I just named 6 teams that are more likely not going to finish. Maybe not Houston, but the other 5. Minnesota's quit on the season. They're done. They punted. They traded away a guy they just traded for. They told their best defensive player, you go have surgery. Don't worry about coming back this year. They're done. I didn't think they were going to be good this year, but I didn't think they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I said they were going to be 8-8. People thought I was crazy when I said that. Well, they're going to be more like 4-12, 5-11 this season, are the Vikings. So I said all that to say this. Even if we go 5-11 with all the funk that exists in this league, 5-11 might not be good enough to get you a top 7 pick. That might be number 9 or 10. And at 9 and 10, you're really on the outskirts of getting anything elite quarterback-wise. You're going to have to move up. And if we're drafting 9th, we're drafting a quarterback. More likely than not. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I don't know. I don't think Badette's going to get any run. You seem to think that 4.27 speed is going to enamor people. He's been in other people's camps before. He's never gotten run because he's Jeff Badette. I don't see Jeff Badette seeing the field often. Once we get healthy, Steven Sims comes back. Isaiah Wright comes back. Antonio Gandy Golden comes back. Cam Sims, I think Cam Sims has a tremendous opportunity, and he's taking full advantage of it right now. Football is one of the rare sports where a guy can get hurt or miss some time due to anything. Have another guy play well, and you never get your spot back. It doesn't really happen in any other sport. There are the rare instances in Major League Baseball where a guy in center field gets hurt, somebody steps up, plays, and he comes back, and they're like, hey, don't really know how I'm going to take this guy out of the lineup, but I'll see if I can get you some ABs. In the NFL, no, you just outright get cut. See Marcus Ball. Had a death in the family. Tamarick Hemingway played so well, they was like, hey, Marcus, about that third tight end spot we promised you when you came back. Yeah. You see, we pulled this guy, Tamarick Hemingway. You remember Tamarick, right? Yeah, he was with us in Tampa. You remember him, Carolina last year? Yeah. Yeah, he played last week. Played pretty damn well, too. And we kind of came to a consensus that we want to see more. So, we're releasing you. We'd love to have you on the practice squad, though. He may never see the field again for this team, Marcus Ball. That's how it goes. You got all these guys, and you're looking around, and once, all these guys come back, Foster may never see the field. Foster's Australian for beer. He may never see the field. That is a horrible Australian accent, by the way. He may never see the field. Even Ron said, look, he wasn't going to play even if he was ready to go this week, and he cleared the COVID protocols because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know the offense. He's going to take time to learn these things. And guess what? All the while, Cam Sims is going to be getting more reps. They still want to see AGG when he comes back. And Steven Sims is still a huge part of this offense. Don't forget about him. When he's healthy, they're going to try to work him back in. Oh, yeah, they like Isaiah Wright, too. He's done some really good things. You really think Jeff Badette and Robert Foster are going to see the field with all of these guys coming back if they're healthy? Fat chance. Now, if you have more injuries, yeah, a guy like Foster, maybe even Badette, could see the field. Badette will probably see it before Foster because he's been here longer and actually knows a little bit of the playbook. So, I don't know if there's anything to that or not. I can just tell you that it's going to get really, really jumbled at the receiver position here shortly when everybody gets healthy. And a lot of these guys are going to be demoted back down to the practice squad. And some of these guys might not even be here. Like a Jeff Badette. Once we get everybody back, Jeff Badette might not even be here. They're going to have to clear some space to get all these guys back on the active roster. And by virtue of that, they're going to have to release some guys that they like that have been on the team. And some of those guys are going to have to go back to the practice squad. You only got a limited amount of practice squad spots. So some of those guys may get released off the practice squad and they may get a chance. Like a Badette may get a chance to go back to the practice squad. But what if they like Foster more than they like him? What if they like Tony Brown and Foster better than they like Badette? Well, Badette's gone. We'll see what happens. It's a lot of time. A lot of guys got to get healthy, and they got to stay healthy. So we'll see. Thank you for the super chat, Double M. I agree with you, though. If we don't have to draft a quarterback, man, that's going to really make the draft a totally different animal for us. At least not in the first round. Got a super chat here from, let's see, Clumsy Jedi 26. Thank you for tripling it up, Clumsy Jedi 26. Really appreciate you. Clumsy Jedi 26 writes, that tight end out of Florida, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, he's the truth. Looks legit. There are a bunch of those guys. Brevin Jordan from Miami looks like a stud. I mean, I told you, this is going to be a bounce back draft for the tight end position. I saw a lot of guys last year watching film that I uncovered as gems at the tight end position that are going to be eligible to be drafted this year. It's a pretty exciting crop if they all decide to come out. So he's not alone. Pitts isn't alone. But yeah, he looks pretty damn good. I do agree with that. Alec Meehan, thank you for the super chat, Alec Meehan. Greatly appreciate you. Alec writes, what up, Lou? What are your thoughts on pairing Terry up with Will Fuller? Will Fuller, again, going to cost you some draft capital if you want to trade for him. Now, he'll be a free agent this offseason if the Texans don't decide to bring him back, which the way they keep talking about him as if he's expendable, I don't think they are going to bring him back. They'd be stupid not to bring him back. He's really the best receiver they have, but that's their prerogative, not mine. I'd love it. I think he's an awesome wide receiver. My problem with him is he's always hurt. You know, you can never count on Will Fuller for 16 games. Ton of soft tissue injuries. It's never a matter of if, it's a matter of when he's going to have either a calf or a hammy, you know, or an ankle. He's going to have something. And so, not necessarily the body type I was looking for. Remember, I told you I was looking for a 6'1", 6'2", you know, guy that, you know, was a little bit bigger. But with a Will Fuller out there, the possibilities are endless when you can stretch the football field vertically the way that he can. So you wouldn't be able to sleep on either one of those guys. And that's why I want the other guy opposite of Terry to be able to run, just for the simple fact that, you know, you can do some real big things stretching the football field. And some of these plays that we run with these mesh concepts, they become a little bit more dangerous if you're playing man coverage when you got a guy like Will Fuller, you know, running that mesh concept. I even think once we get Steven Sims back, that mesh concept becomes even more dangerous because of his speed and his dynamic ability in space. Like Isaiah Wright catches the ball, I'm like, yeah, he's cool, but Isaiah's not going to make anybody miss. Nobody's afraid of his speed. He's cool. Steven Sims catches the football on one of these shallow crosses in man-to-man where his defender kind of gets picked off, and now he's in open space, and he turns into a kick returner, and you're like, oh, shit, here we go. This could be like Dallas Week 17 last year all over again. So, you know, I'd be cool with Will Fuller. I love his game. He's a golden domer, so you know I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, I don't know if they're going to be looking at receiver as much as we think. With all of the guys that have developed this year, I don't know if receiver is going to be as high a priority as it was last offseason when they went after Amari Cooper really hard. I don't know if they're going to have wide receiver up as high on the food chain. We'll see. But I like Will Fuller a lot. I wouldn't mind adding him to this team at all. Kevin the PRF, double up, thank you for doubling up, Kevin the PRF. Greatly appreciate you. Kevin writes, 2 hours, 3 streams, only 2 organics. I told you I'm getting better. You've made me cognizant of what I'm doing. No more subconscious. I digresses. All right. now when I say it, I know I just said it, and I'm keeping count. I need the name of your exorcist. Digressist. Might have to move on to a wise man once told me. Now, you can't take that from me because I've had a lot of wise people impart knowledge on me throughout my life. I can't sign up for that one. I can't put an over-under on that. Because if I'm in a gym dropping mode, you're going to get a bunch of a wise man or a wise woman told me. So I can't give you an over-under. You don't buy the half point to get it to 6. Hashtag late night Louie. I really appreciate you, Kev. I really do, man. You always make me laugh. Anyway, that is the last super chat. So I want to quickly go through the rest of my list of studs, duds, and surprises, and we'll get out of here if there are no more super chats. My next stud is Kendall Fuller. Tied for the lead league in interceptions with 4. He's tied with Xavier Howard of the Dolphins. Remember, he's done it in one less game than everyone else in the league. He's only played in 5 games this season, while everyone else in the league has at least played in 6 if they've been relatively healthy. So what he's doing is tremendous. And when I watch him on film, this guy doesn't miss anything at the cornerback position. He's all over it. Like, we kicked him into the slot versus Dallas, and he had a pass completed on him, but he was right there, and he almost knocked it down. And I'm like, man, he does not miss a beat. You know, Cooper got him in the slot on a 3rd down on a shallow cross, but it's not often that this guy gets beat, man. He is dialed in and playing at a ridiculously high level. This is exactly what they had in mind when they selected him in the draft. Question, was he a 2nd or a 3rd round pick? I think he was a 3rd round pick. He can't be a 2nd round pick, not with the history we've had in the 2nd round. Somebody look that up for me. My next dud, Steven Sims. And it's not his fault. He's been dealing with an injury. But the reason he's a dud for me is because I was reckless with Steven Sims this offseason. Coming into 2020, I was like, yo, this guy's going to solidify himself not only as a hell of a slot receiver, he's going to solidify himself as a potential number 2 option to Terry McLaurin. And I was expecting big things. I was expecting, 70 catches, 8 to 950 yards, 7 touchdowns, just a dynamic number 2. We've seen the guy for all of, I don't even count the Browns game. He shouldn't have even played. I think that might have actually made his injury worse. We've seen the guy for all the 2 games. Really didn't see much from him in those first 2 games. Really not his fault. The offense wasn't any good then. He made a big catch against Philadelphia. But outside of that, he made some good catches against Arizona. But I was expecting a lot more. I'm hoping that the second half of the season, we get a healthy Steven Sims first and foremost, and we get a much more productive Steven Sims. He's been a big disappointment for me, not because of his play, just because of the availability piece. The best ability is availability. He hasn't been available, and so thus he hasn't been able to produce at the level that we would have liked him to this point. What the next surprise for me, Dwayne's decline. Wouldn't have predicted it in a million years that it would have happened this rapidly. If you would have told me after, 10 or 12 games that they said this ain't it, okay, I can understand that. But after 4, and then to have all of the rumors and leaks come out, and for Dwayne to respond to this adversity the way that he has, to the point where the team is fining him and they want him gone? What? If you would have told me before the season started that there was a scenario in which Dwayne Haskins wouldn't be on this team post-trade deadline, I would have told you to get out of my face with your trolling ass. When I told you how smug I was when I saw the Vegas odds for the quarterback most likely to be benched first, and Dwayne had runaway favorite odds, and I'm like, what? They're tripping. They didn't see end of the season Dwayne last year? Man, they tripping. No, they weren't tripping. They knew something that obviously we didn't. And I'm just shocked at how fast this decline has been. Not necessarily at Dwayne not being able to get it done, because I didn't know. I told you I didn't know, but I was expecting big things from him based off of the final 4 games of the season. Saw some really good things from Dwayne. And I told you, I don't know what happened to Dwayne this offseason in terms of the weight loss, but he came back a less willing to move quarterback. And for whatever reason, I can't explain why, he just didn't look like the same guy. And because of that, I thought that he was a less viable starting quarterback. And then, everything else kind of happened, and he's no longer, not only is he not the starting quarterback, not only is he not on the active roster, game day roster on a weekly basis, he's been demoted to 3, and he hasn't traveled with the team or been at the game the last 2 weeks. It's crazy to me. And I did not see this coming. I just didn't. Studs. The defensive line. I've heard a lot of people talk about this guy and that. Oh, Chase Young isn't elite. Man, these defensive tackles can't get any pressure. Know what you're getting yourself into. All right, Chase Young is perfectly fine. He's been a dominant force for us. He's been outstanding. And he's going to continue to be great for us. And once he starts getting sacks, they're going to come in bunches. I read a tweet. I don't know who it was from. But Javon Curse, the freak, holds the NFL record for most sacks by a rookie. I think it was back in his 1999 campaign. I think he had 14 and a half sacks. He had 3 sacks through his team's first 6 or 7 games. And then from that point on, he had at least a half sack in every game the remainder of the season and ended up with 14 and a half. Set the rookie record. Chase Young's very capable of doing something like that. I'm not worried about Chase Young whatsoever. Love what I've seen from him. He's been dominant. He's been everything that I thought he was going to be to this point, and I'm expecting big things from him moving forward, as he's given us early in the season. Everything doesn't always amount to sacks. But I've been really impressed with Montez Sweat's development. He's been much better in the run game. He's been dominant at times in the run game. He's getting after the quarterback. He's forcing fumbles. I'd like to see him force more fumbles. He's getting pressures. He's hustling. He's exceeded my expectations already for the season in terms of where he was going to be at this point in the season. And then the Bama Wall, man, they're so dominant against the run, it's not even funny. Daron Payne is one of the best run-stopping defenders, not just on this team, not just in the division, not just in the conference, in the league. He's dominant. We miss Matt Ioannidis. There's no way around that. But I'm really impressed with Tim Settle. He continues to get better as he gets more and more snaps. He's getting better and better and better. We're tied for 5th in the league, I believe, in sacks with 22. No, we're 5th. We're not tied. We're 5th in the league in sacks with 22. I think we would be leading the league in sacks if Ioannidis were still healthy. That's just me. But we're right there. And we're stopping the run. There's a stat out there right now that's floating around. Don't pay any attention to it. Washington's the number 1 pass defense in the league, allowing 185 yards per game. Yeah, it's true. If you want to go technical by the stats, don't buy it. Don't buy the hype, okay? There are reasons as to why we're number 1 in pass defense. I can give them to you if you want. But you don't want me to bore you with that. Just know that this defensive line has been playing really well. So, they're my studs. I expected that, and we've gotten that. Dud. Dwayne Haskins. I don't have to tell you why. We've already gone down that road. I just was expecting more. Period. Surprises. How about Logan Thomas? I think he is my biggest surprise to this point. Remember, I thought the tight end position was going to be trash all year long. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You couldn't convince me otherwise. I said, I don't care how many of these guys you bring in. They're all going to stink because our tight end position is the worst. No, it's not. I actually like Tamarick Hemingway too. And I want to see him get more involved. Think he's got something to him. Logan Thomas has been excellent. He's not a tight end number one. And no one's going to be able to convince me otherwise. There's certain things you have to be able to do, some things you have to be a tight end number one that he doesn't. Doesn't mean that he hasn't been great this season. And it doesn't mean that he can't play at a very high level in this league for many years to come. I just don't think he's a tight end number one. And that's fine. But he's been really good. He's been very durable. And he's still learning the position. If Ron Rivera tells me that one more time, that he's been a quarterback and that he's still learning the position, I'm going to vomit. I get it, Ron. We understand. He hasn't been playing the position very long. We know. You've told us 87 million times already. But he's second on the team in catches and receiving yards. Second. He leads the team in touchdown receptions. He's been a revelation. Got to give credit where credit is due. And he's getting better. He's got to do a much better job blocking, especially pass protecting. He's awful at times, which is why they start to take him off the field in obvious passing situations where they don't have the tight ends blocking. When they want to block, and this is becoming a tell, and I'm realizing this on film as I'm talking to you, it's starting to resonate. When we're going play action fake, and we're not running the ball, and they want their tight ends to stay in and block, they're taking him off the field, and they're inserting Tamarick Hemingway and Jeremy Sprinkle. The reason why? He stinks at pass protection right now. But he's been a revelation. I've been pleasantly surprised by him, and he's definitely one of my surprises, if not my biggest surprise to this point of the season. You look at my last surprise. I don't have any more studs or duds. I could give you more, but I wanted to leave some for you guys. I got two more surprises, actually. Both in the secondary. Cameron Curl and Ronald Darby. I didn't know what to expect from Ronald Darby. I knew that when he played well in Buffalo and even times in Philadelphia, he was really good. But of late, you haven't gotten that from Darby, and I don't want to say what else was a problem because I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to put that in the atmosphere, and I'm not going to. I just know Ronald Darby has been a pleasant surprise. He's played really well opposite Kendall Fuller, and now all of a sudden, you look at this secondary, and if the guys that have come in and Shays and Cameron Curl play the way that they've been playing these last couple of weeks, this secondary is no longer a weakness. It's a strength. So Darby's been playing well. So is Cameron Curl. I was wrong about him. I said this guy is not a good pick in the 7th round. There were other safeties that I liked more. What are we doing? This guy can't play. He's slow. He's this. He's that. I was wrong. Couldn't have been more wrong. Of all the positions that I evaluate on film, I haven't been more wrong about any position than safety. And I think some of that has to do with when you watch safeties, they have a certain responsibility that you don't always see, and you don't always know what they're supposed to be doing or what they're being asked to do. And I think with safeties, you have to do extensive homework on them because you don't know what a guy's toughness is. You don't the games I watched Cameron Curl in, I didn't see this physicality. I didn't see a guy in the box. I saw a guy that was playing free safety, and he didn't look like a dynamic free safety, which is why we don't play him at free safety, which is why we play him as a strong safety in the box. He is a different, if I would have saw this guy, and Ron Rivera said, had there been workouts and a normal draft process, this guy isn't a 7th round pick. He's probably right. After seeing what I'm seeing right now, we benefited from the lack of a draft process that allowed a guy like Cameron Curl to fall into our lap because this guy looks like a 3rd, 4th round pick the way he's playing right now. And we got him in the 7th round, and I couldn't be more pleased with what we've gotten from him. And we're going to see more Cameron Curl because of the injury to Landon Collins. And we're going to see if this guy is legit or not as a viable starter in this league. We're going to see. Because not like we can get rid of Landon. Too much dead money. He's not going anywhere. But it's good to know that in a pinch, if we need Cameron Curl, or you say, hey, we got this special package where we're going to put another safety on the field and we want Cameron to play a lot, you're going to see if he's capable of handling that right now. So those are my studs, duds, and surprises. I've got more, but again, I don't want to bore you with all of that. So with that being said, I think I have one more super chat. I do. Thank you for doubling up, Alec Meehan. Double up. Alec, thank you so much. Who writes, what's more surprising, Dwayne getting benched after 4 games or Washington being ranked first in the league in pass defense? Oh, it's not even close. It's Dwayne getting benched after 4 games. The pass defense thing, if I would have, so the things that I know regarding the pass defense right now makes me look at the number 1 ranking in pass defense, and I bat my eyes. I cut my eyes at it like, man, whatever. I'm not really sold on that because of different circumstances. But it's not that big of a surprise if we were 100% healthy along the defensive line. I thought we were capable of really disrupting teams' passing offense. So I'm not super surprised by that. I was blown away by Dwayne only getting 4 games. I would have put down any amount of money before the season that there's no way Dwayne's only playing 4 games. Unless he got hurt. You're crazy. You're crazy. It's no way. I couldn't have predicted the division being this bad. I couldn't predict that Dwayne would do some of the things that he's done off the field. And I couldn't have predicted that Dwayne was going to regress the way that he did on the field. I couldn't have seen those things happening. And I'm not just talking about from a, digesting the playbook standpoint because he's in a new system. What do you think was going to happen? I'm talking about just from a playmaking standpoint. Dwayne last year ran. He ran. If he didn't like what he saw, he ran. If he thought he needed to escape the pocket to extend, he did. You couldn't pay this guy this year to get out of the pocket and extend or run. He just refused to do it. And when he did run, he ran into sacks. So, by far and away, it was Dwayne. For me, it's not even close. I thought this defense could be good, really good. And it wouldn't shock me if we were first in pass defense. But Dwayne getting benched after 4 games, blindsided. Never saw it coming. So that's going to do it for me, guys. I thank you guys for joining me on this Wednesday edition of Washington Football Nightly Live. I really appreciate you guys. Remember, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Go ahead, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And while you're at it, hit the like button too. All right, hook a brother up. I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't already joined the Mob Squad, MOBB, we in the building. Stand up. Go ahead and do that. Down in the description, you will find the link. Hit that link. If you don't have the app, download the app, and it will take you to the Mob Squad. I put up a new poll question just yesterday. So if you haven't already answered that poll, do that. There'll be another quiz up there at some point this week. So look for that. I'll try to make it a little bit more recent. So some of you who were complaining, well, I'm too young for this one. I'll make it a little bit more relevant, a little bit more with the times. And then I'll do one for some of you who are a little bit more veteran fans. Go back a little bit a ways. And we'll have fun with that as well. So if you're not a member of the Mob Squad, you need to become one. We have so much fun, so many different activities. And as I told you yesterday, you can win money. Who doesn't like to win money? And all of this is for free. Who doesn't like free? Can't beat free. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me on this program. Remember, I'm your man, Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.